I am Tom Moore. This is Tony Gooderman. We are from BuckeyesCoop.com. It is Ohio State spring game Saturday, and in about 20 minutes, for the first time since the Penn State game in 2019, they're going to let some real live actual Ohio State fans into this stadium to watch a football game. I'm pretty darn excited to have them here. I saw the band when I got here this morning. I saw the band kind of all lined up going into the band center to get ready to do their thing, and the cheerleaders and Brutus will be here. It's going to be like, this is almost going to feel like an actual Ohio State football game.
It will be. I wonder what happens when the fans come in, though, and we're trying to do our show. That will be annoying.
That will be, please. I don't think we're going to get mobbed. I have security there and there and there, so we should be okay. Right. But yes. So this is, it was a delight to come in and look around, and there are no cardboard fans in the stadium.
Yeah, that's nice.
Not a one. I was wondering, I'm pretty sure they're not still going to have them, but yes. All of this it just feels a little bit more normal. And, the spring game, the morning of the spring game is always fantastic. And then as soon as the game starts, oh, right, it's the spring game. Okay.
Why aren't they tackling?
Well, and yes, they will not be tackling today. The squads are split up a little different than normal. They're calling them the Brutus squad and the Buckeye squad because all the offensive players are wearing red, all the defensive players are wearing white. I assume that's probably a function of guys maybe shifting teams more than they might be normally.
Well, the way I figure it, since they're just doing offense versus defense in the second half, it just makes it easier so guys don't have to change jerseys and stuff.
So it is definitely going to be a very different setup for a spring game. The first half is going to be kind of like a football game-ish, but there's no tackling. There's no kickoffs. There's punts all have to be fair caught. Kicks, placements, like PATs, field goals, those are all live. And all the other stuff is going to be a little modified. The main goal today is number one for all the boys to get out there and get a little fresh air and exercise, and number two for no one to get hurt. That seems like more than almost anything else. That's the main goal today.
Yeah, and I know people are upset about the no tackling. It seems like we forget that it wasn't that way, that it was that way the year before. Each year we do this, it's like, why aren't they tackling? And it's like, well, they didn't do it last year. But really, what people want to see is the quarterbacks and the receivers, the passing game. So tackling in that aspect doesn't really play into it too much. So I want to see, I don't think it'll be that disappointing because it's a spring game. So it always never lives up to expectations anyway.
The most exciting moment of every spring game is the walk to the stadium, and then it's like, oh, okay, right, this is not an actual football game, but that's okay, that's fine. Any kind of we got to watch practice. There was a day when you got to watch practice, and it was basically just them stretching, and then you got kicked out. I was like, you know what, that's fine. It's great to be back in the facility, see guys in person, talk to people in person. This is all extremely nice this year.
Football is happening.
Football is happening, and if you remember this time last year, football was not happening, so this is a good thing. So, in order to keep the team straight, let's just give you the one thing that everyone is going to be looking for today. Jack Miller is the quarterback of the Buckeye team. C.J. Stroud and Kyle McCord are on the Brutus team. I think there's a decent possibility Kyle McCord might play for both teams, might take some snaps for both teams. That's we've seen that in the past with the third quarterback. I remember Joe Burrow did that for a couple teams at one point. Tate Martell did that for both teams at some point. So you kind of it'll probably be C.J. Stroud for the Brutus team, Jack Miller for the Buckeye team, and then a little bit of Kyle McCord for both. Which one of them, if you were going to be surprised by someone today, who would it be of those three quarterbacks? Is there someone who you think, has a realistic possibility of really showing out and really surprising people today?
What would really surprise me is you have Kyle McCord and C.J. Stroud on Team Brutus with the second team offensive line.
Yes.
So if Kyle McCord can shine with the second team offensive line blocking for him, I think that would be maybe the most surprising, most impressive thing. But it is interesting to me that Jack Miller is given the bulk of the first team offensive line. And then C.J. Stroud has been, every time we've seen him, the number one quarterback is being given the second team unit. I don't think that's by accident. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Yeah, and Stroud, like you said, every time we've watched practice, we've seen 3 practices so far this spring. every time we've seen it, we have not seen the whole practice, but the pieces of practice we've seen, 3 different days, the quarterbacks were running in the same order. That was number 1 Stroud, number 2 Miller, number 3 McCord. So yeah, to have Miller have an opportunity with the ones, like first of all, this is a big opportunity for him. You know, this is a day when, you know, if you, I mean, we've had those practice reports all spring that, you know, Stroud is very clearly out in front right now. Jack Miller's making a push. He you know, then Stroud had a really good day. He's back out front. We've seen McCord flash a little bit in the practices we've gotten to see. So, you know, it is kind of a 3-way race, but it has felt all spring like that was the pecking order: Stroud and then Miller, then McCord. But you're right, this feels like a real opportunity for Jack Miller. You've got the first team offensive line, you've got a lot of the good wide receivers, especially kind of the good, not Chris Olave, but you've got Garrett Wilson, who's probably not going to play a whole heck of a lot, but you've got Jackson Smith and Jigba out there. I mean, you've got Jameson Williams. Like, you have, you know, if you assume Olave and Wilson are not going to play a lot, which they're probably not, and Rucker's probably not going to play a lot, but I think you're going to, you know, that's a real opportunity, because you figure, like, Olave's on one team, Wilson's on the other, they're both playing like a drive or two, and that's it. So if you have that kind of next group of wide receivers, which is like Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jameson Williams, those are the guys you're going to get a bunch of drives with. And I just saw a question, someone asking if Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to be playing more than the other guys who are kind of the veteran starters. The answer to that is almost certainly yes, because it's not that he's number 1 right now on the depth chart. That's not what really matters. What matters is, like, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, they know what they've got with those guys. Jackson Smith and Jigba, like, I think they're pretty darn sure they've got something good, but this is still, like, he's still fighting for a job. He still needs to earn a job. He still needs to show them what he can do.
Yeah, and this is an opportunity. He didn't have spring last year. They really like him. He's ascending right now in spring camp, is what Ryan Day and Brian Hartline have both said. So I think they'd like to see that continue at this final practice. And, you know, he's a guy that is becoming a veteran, and there's no reason to hold him to like 1 or 2 drives like you're going to do with Chris Olave.
Jordan wants to know who the Chris Olave guy we're talking about is.
That's Dallas Gant.
Yes, Dallas Gant tipped us off to him. He apparently a wide receiver out of California. This is his 4th year, which is surprising me. You would have thought we'd hear about him before now, but here we are. You know, again, one of the other things that we followed this spring is the offensive line. You mentioned the first team offensive line is pretty much all together on that Buckeye team. The only one who's not is Thayer Munford, which, you know, this is his 4th year. He's probably not playing a whole lot. You're going to see someone else at left tackle anyway. So he's not with that kind of first team offensive line group. But one guy who is redshirt freshman center Luke Whippler, and that's one of those battles that we've been kind of watching all spring. And, you know, Harry Miller's out for the spring with a shoulder thing, so you've got Luke Whippler, you've had Matt Jones kind of fighting for that starting job. The last time we saw practice, Whippler was with the ones. Nevada Buck had heard Luke Whippler had maybe kind of moved ahead in that race, and now he's with the offensive line that is sort of nominally the ones. You know, again, like, nothing is final. This is not, you know, this is a little bit like Jackson Smith and Jigba. Like, yes, maybe he's going to be a starter. He's in line to be a starter right now, maybe, but this is another opportunity. Like, this is a chance to prove it, because you're going up against a pretty decent defensive line, too.
Yeah, and Matt Jones with the twos, he'll get an opportunity to play a lot. Presuming he's healthy enough to do that. And I'll be interested to see how their second team offensive linemen do against a series of good defensive linemen for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, the Team Brutus defensive line, which is going to be going up against the ones. So this is the defensive line for Team Brutus. So it's kind of the number 1 defensive line. You've got like a
Tyreek Smith,
Tyler Friday, Antoine Jackson is there. You know, that all of those guys are, you know, again, like, I don't know how much Tyreek Smith is playing today. I don't know how much Zach Harrison is playing today. Zach Harrison's on that Brutus team. But, you know, Javante Jean-Baptiste, like, it's like a whole bunch of that top 6 or so defensive ends. An awful lot of them are on that Brutus team, which, you know, I mean, they're setting you up kind of for like a little bit of a 1 versus 1 kind of thing. So, you know, again, you can't read too much into it, because you're going to have, number 1, you know, a lot of those veterans are not going to play a ton. Number 2, there's no tackling. The quarterbacks are in non-contact jerseys, so stuff is going to get blown dead real early. But, you know, offensive line is one of those things where you can actually get a sense for how is that line holding up? How much pressure is that defensive line getting? Because these are not necessarily, this is not 5 guys who've been working together next to each other all spring. So that's actually maybe one of the more interesting things to watch today.
Yeah, and in that will be, seeing Jack Sawyer, see what he does. Because I know everybody's excited to see him, and I've not heard one bad thing about him from anybody yet at camp. So I'm interested to see what he can do. And again, just because the quarterbacks are in black jerseys and you get near them and they're down, that's not the case for the offensive line to trying to block these guys. So that part will be physical, and there'll be plenty of one-on-ones there and some double teams and things like that that will be worth watching. I hope everybody has set their DVRs, as I did. I almost forgot to do that. Did you do?
I did not, but I will text my wife as soon as we're done.
You're welcome.
It's probably already set to record. I'm pretty sure I have all Ohio State new games set to record automatically. But yes, it's gonna be real interesting to see that. Something else that I think is worth, let's just put a caveat on this right now. The defensive backfields. The defensive backfields are going to be real thin. You've got no Sevyn Banks this spring. You've got no Cam Brown this spring. So those are probably your top 2 corners for this fall, not playing at all. So you've got on that defense, there's no legend Cavazos. So Ryan Watts is probably the number 1 safety there, or number corner there. You got Ryan Watts, Marcus Williamson. I mean, there's not a lot of depth there. Cam Martinez, Tyreek Johnson, but there's not a lot of depth there on that defensive line, defense backfield. This seems like it's an again, you don't have to be that close if you're not tackling to get credit for tackling a wide receiver down, but this is going to be a real opportunity, I think, for the quarterbacks and the wide receivers to really kind of show out today.
I also think it's an opportunity for the defense to play some 4-4.
Smart. Go box them on, maybe?
No, but again, don't get too worked up about if there's a lot of passing game success. Mm-hmm. Be happy that the quarterbacks are able to complete passes to the receivers. Yeah. The secondary that you're seeing today, you may have Craig Young and Ronnie Hickman as 2 deep safeties on opposite teams, but those guys are listed as the actual bullets on the team on the roster. So they're more I don't know how much of I have no idea what we're going to see. Is it going to be all nickel?
Right.
Is it going to be who knows? But
I don't know if they have enough healthy defensive backs to play nickel.
Right, and that's why I wouldn't be surprised if you got bullets playing safety, like we've seen in the past, a year ago, year and a half, 2 years ago. So if you have that. If Craig Young is a deep safety, that's not necessarily where he's going to be during this season. So, if some big plays happen, just be glad that you have the skill to make it happen.
I mean, this is you want to see if this is a defensive backfield that is today because they're missing the starters, because they're split into 2 teams. If this is like a average or slightly below average level defensive backfield today, you want to see the offense light that up because. They have you want if the offense isn't lighting that up, that's a problem. That indicates you probably have some quarterbacks who aren't quite ready for and again, there are probably going to be a lot of nerves here for a bunch of first-time starting quarterbacks. One thing that's worth remembering: Ohio State is not the only team that's going through this year. Alabama has a redshirt freshman quarterback, Bryce Young. Clemson has a redshirt freshman quarterback, DJ Uiagalelei, I think. Sound right? Ish?
It's fine through the mask.
Yeah, there you go. If it sounded wrong, it's because of the music and the mask, yes. But yeah, you have first-time quarterbacks at Clemson, first-time quarterbacks at Alabama. So, if you're watching this and it's like, oh, I'm a little concerned about the Ohio State quarterbacks, just remember, there are Alabama fans probably saying the same thing, Clemson fans probably saying the same thing.
And again, Justin Fields, 2019, 4 of 13 passing.
Yes, so. 4 of 13 passing, and it was 132 yards, but 98 of it was on one play. Jordan wants to know if Coach Day is excited to be going through this quarterback battle. I mean, I think he's excited with his options for sure.
He's also excited by the fact that whoever wins this won't be leaving after this year.
Yes.
Which is something that he's had to deal with Dwayne Haskins. And so, he could have this next guy for maybe 3 years, probably only 2. But still, that's better than, just continually churning guys out.
Jack wants to know what the chances are we see a full stadium this fall. Can't see the university losing a second year of revenue. Well, I guess the issue is it's not Ohio State's choice. I think the Big Ten is probably going to be the point where it's not the Big Ten is not going to be the one making the decision. It's going to be the Columbus Department of Health making a decision in conjunction with the university. I think the hope is that you have a high enough percentage of people vaccinated by that point. I think certainly by this fall, anyone who wants to be vaccinated is going to have the opportunity to be vaccinated. So you would think at that point, if the rate is high enough, then you see the transmission rate go way down, and then, again, like you're asking us to predict what's going to happen 4 or 5 months from now, which is that has proven somewhat elusive for a lot of people in the last year or so. But I think there's a very good chance. I think there's a decent chance you have at least a significant crowd. I don't think you're going to see 4,000 people this fall. I think you're going to see a pretty decent number in the stadium, whether it's completely full or not. There's a lot of
and I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but if everybody can be vaccinated who wants to be vaccinated, and you don't have a full crowd, when will you have a full crowd?
Yeah, well, that's the question. Yeah.
So it's like you either have to do it or you're never going to do it.
Yeah.
And so it's about keeping hospitals, from being overwhelmed, getting people the opportunity to be vaccinated. I think everybody here right now, and granted there may only be a couple hundred, I'd say 95% of us are vaccinated.
Yeah.
Now it's an older 40 and over crowd.
Yeah.
But I just think everybody will have the opportunity, and so then it becomes like, what are you holding back for?
Yeah. Andrew wants to know, with no tackling, do you think there will be much running, or will it be a glorified 7-on-7? You never see running in the spring game, really. I mean, you talked on the podcast earlier this week about Maurice Claret's first spring game, and you're all excited. He was like 5 carries for 17 yards. I know everyone's excited about TreVeyon Henderson. I think we have spent a lot of time gassing up TreVeyon Henderson as a possible immediate impact guy. If TreVeyon Henderson has 5 carries for 15 yards today, read 0 into that. Nothing. Because if you're not getting tackled, like anytime anyone is close to you, if you are a guy who's strong and breaks tackles, or elusive and can shake your way out of a phone booth kind of thing, breaking tackles doesn't do you any good because they're not tackling. Being elusive, even if you can make a guy miss who's right next to you. Well, if the guy's right next to you, they're going to blow it dead. So you can't read anything.
Well, think of the Mayan Williams run against Clemson last year. It's like 20 yards, but he got touched in the backfield.
Yeah.
Today that would be like a 3-yard loss, and so it doesn't really behoove you to run the ball that much.
Will this spring game be as long as the other years, or will it be shorter with no tackling? The spring game, the first half is going to be kind of a normal spring game, I think. The second half is going to just be like situational. It's going to be offense against defense. It's just going to be, okay, the offense has the ball 1st and 10 at the 50-yard line, go. The offense has the ball 1st and 10 at the opponent's 20-yard line, go. Hey, they're back up to run 1, go. So, it's just a matter of how long they want to do that.
It's a 2-hour TV window.
Yeah,
I would be surprised if it goes that long. I did set my window to 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be real long today.
The first half is 2 10-minute quarters, and then after that, they're not going to really time anything.
So over-under on the number of TD passes thrown today. This is all of our over-unders seem like you got to set them way low because it's 2 quarters. Are we counting the second half, or are we just saying, okay, if you're counting the second half, well, that depends real heavily on, are they running 15 drives from the opponent's 20? Because then the answer might be like 10. If
red zone?
Yeah, are they running a bunch of red zone drills? I think the first half, 2 10-minute quarters. 2 10-minute quarters, you see a couple touchdowns probably from each team.
I was going to say 3.5.
Yeah, Jordan just said 4.5. I mean, yeah, like a couple touchdowns from each team, like 4 touchdowns in the first half maybe is about right. And if it's 2, don't freak out. If it's 7,
freak out.
Don't freak out. Will DeMario get a pick 6 today? There's a great question. I wish the music was louder. I wish, DeMario obviously, I think there's a lot of things that would get in the way of DeMario getting a pick 6 today, but, if he's out there, like, he could jump an out route and run one back.
Would you be shocked?
Not at all. I don't, young quarterbacks are probably going to go one of two ways. They're going to push a little too hard and try and do Uncle Kentucky, I don't care for you. Young quarterbacks are going to go one of two ways. One is they're going to be trying a little too hard and they're going to force the ball in because they really want to make a play in front of fans. The other way is they're holding it. They don't want to make a mistake because that is the thing we keep hearing. Number one is don't make mistakes. Don't turn the ball over. Take care of the ball. If you have that in your head as this is directive number one, maybe you're going to be holding the ball a little longer. You're not going to be just trying to get it out. You want to make sure you really have a guy open before you throw it, and then you get a bunch of sacks. So, which one are we going to see more of today?
Both. Over under 3.5 touchdowns in the first half. Over under 1.5 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean that's about right. It feels about right that you're going to have.
That's a lot of possessions in 2 quarters, but
but you're not going to. I mean, is the clock running in the first half, or are they doing normal clock?
The play clock will stop in the first half, but in the second half, it's just all.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going to have a ton of. I don't think you're going to see a ton of scoring in the first half. Don't ask over under. Jack Sawyer alone gets 2.5 sacks. I mean, I think he's going to get a lot of time. I think they're going to play him a lot because he's the kind of guy who probably this is the point in your learning curve where you're really going to be. It's getting pretty steep, and I think they're planning on him doing some stuff this fall. So
I think it would be like 1.5, but I wouldn't be surprised if he gets 3.
Right, well, and here's the thing. I think he's playing far enough into the game that you're getting in. You're against the walk-on offensive tackles.
You only have to touch somebody.
Yeah, like if I was making a pick to click here, I think he's a very good pick to click because he's going to get a lot of reps. He's going to go a little bit against the ones. He's also going to be going a lot against those backups. And then when I had Kirk on the morning show this week, he talked about Solomon Thomas having that spring game where he gets 7 sacks because he's going up against walk-on offensive tackles. Like. That could be him today. That could be Jack Sawyer today, with some crazy 3, 4, 5 sacks. Which again, yes, get excited, but don't project him for 75 sacks this fall if he has 4 or 5 sacks this week.
In 12 games, no.
Yes. Yes. Let's see. Iced Up Choi says, "What's the weather like? Pretty cold over east." It's really not bad. It's sunny right now. I think it's supposed to be a little overcast later, but it's like 50, 55, something like that. It's not bad. This is like a very pleasant October football day. Like this is fantastic football weather today. Swoopcast Kyle, biggest surprise you think will happen today?
Is Marvin Harrison a surprise any longer?
Yeah, he's a good one. I mean, Marvin Harrison having 4 touchdowns in the with some of those red zone drills, like that wouldn't surprise me. Jack Sawyer having 4 or 5 sacks wouldn't surprise me. Someone asked if we have to wear masks. Yes, these are the rules. Everyone has to wear masks. I think everyone on Ohio State's campus, you're required to at all times. So yes. So the short answer, yes. Who's your pick for the BAM Children's Award today?
Okay, so again, this is somebody who shines in the spring but doesn't do it during the season.
Presumably.
So
yes.
I think we decided Jaden Ballard, maybe?
Jaden Ballard is
on one of the last podcasts.
Jaden Ballard is a good pick because he's someone who will probably get some chances, especially against the not necessarily even the first string defensive backfield for right now, which is the first string defensive backfield right now is probably the second or third string defensive backfield in the spring. So, and he's not necessarily even going to be going against those guys. So, I'm sure that you're going to have quarterbacks looking to hit a big play or two. He's got the speed to be, we keep throwing out the Devin Smith comp, which seems really unfair until you realize he went to the same high school, wore the same number, and is a similar style of player to Devin Smith. And it's like, well, yeah, okay, then it maybe is a little more natural. So,
it's lazy, but also accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Like us.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is.
Lazy but accurate.
Dalton says he reminds Devin Smith with his deep threat capability. Yep, I mean that's the comp everyone keeps coming up with, and it's like, yeah, I mean it's a little bit unfair right now because Devin Smith is one of the greatest deep ball receivers in Ohio State history, but and I don't know that Jaden Ballard is someone who, with as deep as that room is, he probably has to have a year or so of development. Like I don't expect a big thing out of him this year, but 2022, 2023, I think once Olave and Wilson are gone, you got a couple of those starting spots opening up. Like I think that's when you may see.
And even his teammates have said he's a little bit raw right now, but it's all there. He's just raw.
Yeah.
Gates are open.
Gates are open. The gates opened at 10 o'clock straight up. So there are a few people. Sitting in here. Not too many, but you can see like if Gerd moves right. There are some fans right there. Right there. There's a couple of fans. You'll start to see some people kind of wandering through the portal. Someone just came through over there. Very few. Again, this is 2 hours before a scrimmage. The team is not here yet, so but there are some people.
Family.
There's
some
people
family
down
section
there.
Right now.
Yeah, there's some people down there. So yeah, there are some actual fans here right now. But yeah, this is still pretty darn early for people to be getting here. That's not a judgment. I'm just saying it's a little early. We'll also let's see. Do the freshmen still with black stripes get in today? Yes, they're going to have a bunch of people. Like everyone's going to play. Guys with black stripes, walk-ons, guys who will never see the field this fall. They are all going to play today. Like that's what this game is. Like a lot of guys are going to see the field. Will all 6 running backs still be on the roster come fall camp? I mean, I think that's going to be a very difficult thing for them to navigate. You know, I don't know who would not be on the roster, but you know, someone is going to be 6th on the depth chart. And if you're 6th on the depth chart and you came to Ohio State, you probably came to Ohio State with enough of a resume that it's like you came to college expecting to play. So,
and if you're 6th on the depth chart with younger guys in front of you, especially.
Exactly. Yeah. If it's Evan Pryor who's 6th on the depth chart, that's not necessarily a thing. But then there's a guy who's 5th on the depth chart who has Travion Henderson ahead of him, and then you know that's a decision for that guy. Dalton says, any word? And if Fleming and Scott are good to go today? Heard they were a little banged up. Yeah, Scott missed the practice when we were there earlier this week. Fleming is like recovering from a shoulder thing. I don't know what to expect from either of them. I mean, we saw Fleming out there earlier this week, so my expectation is you'll probably see Fleming today. Scott's a little more of a question because I just
don't know.
We don't. The answer is we don't know.
We saw Julian Fleming take part in Justin Fields' pro day, so that was positive. But he's certainly not 100%. So I don't know if you even bother with him today.
Rob says, "Who has Ariana Grande on repeat in the shoe?" I didn't
know that.
I can't use my Shazam app on my phone, so I don't know who's singing right now. But yeah, they're screwing up our YouTube monetization. And it's pretty loud. Chad says half scrimmage and half controlled situation. Correct. Yes, that is correct. Jordan wants to know, how excited are you to be back in the shoe with fans? It is really, really, really wonderful to be back. Again, like we're not completely back to normal yet, but you cannot see our faces. But this is like very clearly a logical next step towards like okay, where we would like to be in the fall. And you know, again, like having been here last fall, I feel like I've said this 1,000 times, but I don't. With no one else having been here, I feel like it's important to communicate just how weird it was last fall. To be here and it's like they're playing music, the video board's on, the team's here, and there's no one here, and it's like, you know, it feels like when we used to be in the stadium for like jersey scrimmages under Jim Tressel. It is, you know, it's like your brain is saying this is an Ohio State game, and you're looking around the stadium like, no, it isn't, because there would be the band and the fans and stuff, and again, it's what, 4,000, 5,000 people today, whatever it is. Oh no, 18,000 people today.
19,18.
19, okay. But and then 4,500 public tickets or something like that. So, you know, it's going to be like a 5th full, but the band is back. The cheerleaders, Brutus is back. It's like, okay, this is progress. Like after the last 13 months or so, I think progress is very welcome development. Let's see. Ice Up Toy wants us to give the chat a nice view of the shoe. So I will, if you scoot down a little further, I will pan from one end to the other. So there's the south end of the stadium. So let's see. There is the visitors tunnel. That's the home tunnel there, and we'll just pan it all the way back down the other way. There's the north end of the stadium. That's the ramp right there where the band will be coming down. This is not technically the official Ohio State marching band today. This is the OSU Spring Athletic Band, which is a little bit of a different group. They won't be wearing the official band uniforms, I don't think. I was in the Spring Athletic Band a year or two at Ohio State when I was a student, and we had like polo shirts and I think khaki pants or something. So, but it is not the official marching band. It's yeah, they do. When I was in it, we went to the Indy 500 and marched in the Indy 500 parade, and then went to the Indy 500, and then it got rained out. So I got to go. I marched in the Indy 500 parade. I marched around the track at the Indy 500, and I never actually got to see a race. So that was a shame.
Is there a pace band?
There is, yes, and if you pass them, you get in huge trouble. Yes, right. But yeah, so this is yeah, a lot. Robert says a lot of the same people in both bands. That is absolutely true. Yeah, it is, and like the basketball band is kind of the same thing. It's like the marching band, there's a basketball band or winter athletic band, which is like basketball and ice hockey and that kind of stuff. And then the spring athletic band, but it is not, you will not, I don't think, have like the official band uniforms and all that kind of stuff, but they will do the ramp entrance and all that stuff. So, Rob wants to know the line on the game. What do you got? I think I've got Team Buckeye -6. I think you're going to have enough offense. Well, I'll tell you what. You give me your thinking first.
I was going to say 7.5.
7.5. Okay. Yeah, I mean, 7.5 is a reasonable one too. Yeah, I think you're going to have a lot. This is going to be a game that has more offense than defense, and the team that has Jack Miller and the ones on offense is probably going to have a more explosive offense. So yeah, I think Team Buckeye has to be your favorite. So yes. Can't wait to see, Steve says, can't wait to see Travion Henderson run. If he's anything like the high school there's a Heisman in his future. I mean, again, like it's...
Don't get your hopes up too much on the running game.
Don't get your hopes up for Travion Henderson today. Now, maybe you see him, maybe they throw a wheel route to him. Maybe they, dump one out to him out of the backfield. You get to see him in open space there. I don't think you can count on any, if both teams run total 18 times and they finish with like 65 yards, like that would be completely within.
Well, you may see more in the second half where it's offense versus defense.
Maybe, but again, if there's not tackling, like how much can you really do with running if you're not going to tackle? So, yeah, it is going to be a that's just one of those things. You just kind of have to. You just have to kind of go in knowing like this is what that looks like. Special teams. I mean, this is like the only thing that's like totally truly live is kicking. So any concern at all? I mean, it feels like yes, there's a new kicker, but it feels like Jake Seibert kicked enough last year that it feels like it's a new kicker, but it's not really a new.
Right, he's experienced. There will be no kickoffs. Teams will just start on the 25 or 35. Punts will be fair caught, but this will be our first look at Jesse Mirko, the new punter. So that will be interesting, see how he does.
Yep.
But yeah, Jake Seibert, we'll see. They may try some stuff in the second half situationally where you start at the 35-yard kick, you just keep moving back to a 55-yarder to see how he does and kind of get a gauge on what his leg looks like.
Eric says, "Go Emeka, go Bucks" from Stylico, Washington. That's his Emeka Ikuka's hometown out in the state of Washington. He's another guy who. Which team is he on? He's on the same with Stroud, right?
Team Scarlet.
He's on the team.
No,
yeah, he's on Team Brutus, which is the team with
CJ Stroud.
With CJ
So
Stroud
he'll probably
and Kyle
be starting.
McCord. He's going to get, and he's another guy who, he's going to be in the slot. Who's going to play? Who's going to be covering the slot receiver on the Team Buckeye? Because that is not the first team. That might be. That might be. Oh no, I was thinking that was going to be Marcus Williamson, but he's not on that team either. You figured that out, Lathan Ransom. I mean, there's a lot of a lot of guys who are not necessarily going to be playing this fall who are going to be getting a lot of time. And yeah, Emeka Egbuka is one of those guys where it's like, you hit him on a little slant and he gets past that one guy, you can see him go.
Yeah,
so.
I won't be surprised to see him score today.
Yeah. He's someone, again, like if you get to the spring game and you've already lost your black stripe, you're playing this fall. Like unless you get hurt, you are playing this fall. And if you're a guy who's playing this fall and you're a young guy, this is the same conversation we had with Jack Sawyer, where you're going to be in there for quite a while because they want to get you the reps. They want to start building you up because they know they're going to be looking for you this fall, and they know you need to get those reps to start getting ready for that. So, yeah, if he has a big day, that would not surprise me at all. Rob wants to know what sort of football activities go on between spring and fall. Is it all weight room stuff, or do players get together on their own for on-field stuff? Yes, they do. Yes, it's everything. You're in the weight room a lot with Coach Mick. There are a bunch of limitations on what the coaches can be there for. So, like, Brian Hartline can't be there if there's a football there. Like, if they are using a football, Brian Hartline can't be there. But
it's up to the players to do a lot of it.
The guys have to go down and do it. And this is one of these conversations we've had in the past where it's like the quarterback will just text all the receivers, hey, who wants to go throw? That was the genesis of our Austin Mack was going to have a huge year in 2018 theory because he and Dwayne Haskins were roommates. So anytime Dwayne Haskins went to throw, he was going to go throwing with Austin Mack, so they're going to build great chemistry. I don't know if we know the roommate situation for all the quarterbacks.
That's a good question.
Let's see. Yeah, Patrick says Marvin is going to be going crazy. Yep. Yeah, Marvin Harris is yet another guy.
I hope they do some red zone drills so you guys get to see exactly how effective he is down there, because like when we see him, it's almost, I'm not going to go with the one read criticism of Ohio State quarterbacks, but you only need him as that read a lot of the times.
Corey wants to know where we should expect to see G. Scott today, tight end, and the answer is maybe not playing. We saw him at practice on Monday or Tuesday, whatever day that was, we were there, and he was working inside with the guys who were a little dinged up. Like, he wasn't terribly hurt, but just kind of like a precautionary thing.
He is listed as a wide receiver / tight end on the roster, so you may, if he does play, you may see him in a couple of different spots.
Jabari McCall is listed as a wide receiver / defensive back, so I'm not sure I believe that. But Dalton says hoping at some point today they do some kind of driller scenarios where we can see the running backs go full speed. I don't think they're going to do tackling, so you might going to maybe see more of them in the passing game than in the running game. Bahamut, haven't heard Kayvon Pope's name as much as other guys on this offseason. Is he good or is he a possible transfer? I mean, they're moving him inside, though, right? I mean,
that's part of the confusion of the entire linebacker situation.
Yeah.
We don't really know what they're doing necessarily outside, but he has played some inside.
Yeah.
There's so much focus on the passing game that you're not really hearing much about a lot of the linebackers. And so I don't know what to make of it necessarily.
Yeah.
Not good, not bad, not great.
Yeah, we don't know. Is Cam Martinez playing today? Yes. I expect to see a bunch of Cam Martinez. What about Cade Stover? Cade Stover is on the he must be on the Buckeye team, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Cade Stover's on the Buckeye team with Jack Miller. So, there's a pretty good chance he's the second tight end because he's on the same team as Ruckert, but Ruckert is probably not going to play a ton. So I think you're going to see a lot of Cade Stover today. Yes, BTN at noon. Yes. If G. Scott is healthy, he's tight end too. I mean, maybe that's a question. Because I don't think we've seen enough of G. Scott to have any kind of opinion on that at all.
When we've seen them, they've been on the other side of a practice field.
Right. Yeah. That's
doing nothing.
And that's a lot of what we get to see is based on where things are on the practice field. So we have a great view of the offensive line and the defensive line, the running backs. Like if you go through my photo gallery, you can see a ton of offensive line, defensive line, running backs, because those are the guys that are close. And then the quarterbacks and the tight ends are most of the time like on the dark side of the moon. The linebackers are on the far end of the practice field, so we don't get to see a lot of them. We have these narrow windows of practice time anyway, and then they're playing way, way, way far away, and it's like, I think, what number is that? I can't quite tell.
Yeah.
Like, and you're stuck behind one end zone, so it's you're kind of limited in what you can see. So, yeah, Glenn asked about G's got a tight end. That is the number one question of the day. The answer is we don't think he's necessarily going to play. He was a little dinged up earlier this week. Prediction of who's going to be the best quarterback today and who could start at QB1 this year.
Any of them could start at QB1 this year.
Yeah.
Jack Miller should be the most productive guy in the first half.
That's my expectation. Jack Miller is on a team with some of the best wide receivers, first team offensive line. I think my expectation is Jack Miller maybe has the best, most impressive looking day, at least in the first half. I still think, gun to my head right now, I'm picking CJ Stroud to be the quarterback for the fall, just based on the fact that he's been, running first every time we see practice. The position, the positional battle is a little bit of a horse race. It's going back and forth a little bit, but there's a long way to go till September, and they're not going to make a decision for about mid-August at least. Jordan wants to know how you pronounce Whippler. Yeah,
Whippler.
I think it is Whippler. Does it say?
It's official.
Oh, Whippler. There you go. He is on the pronunciation sheet this year. There you go. No, because you didn't hold it to the camera correctly. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Oh, here. I'm gonna hold this up. Here's a good one. It is not Coombs. It is Combs. Kerry Combs. Yes. That might be backwards for you guys. I forget if it shows it backwards on the camera. But yes, it is Whippler. Whippler is it is Whippler. That is official. So it is written. So it shall be.
Our long national nightmare is over.
Corey wants to know if we'll see Julian Fleming. There's a question. Slipcast Kyle, man, I don't want to say I was thinking about you when I was holding that up, but I'll take a picture and I'll DM it to you, bud. Yeah, it is. Julian Fleming, I think we'll probably see. He was doing some stuff during practice. He's probably not 100%, but Rob wants to know who the heck are Jaguar Rowe and JP Andrade. Those are the two walk-on quarterbacks. So those are number 4 and number 5 right now in the list. JP Andrade is from a high school in Southern California. I think he was the team that was the rival of San Dimas High School from Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. I don't think he went to San Dimas, but he's from a program in Southern California. This is his 3rd year, I believe, in the program. Really nice kid. As with every walk-on quarterback, if you get down to the walk-on quarterback, it's probably not a great thing for your team that year. But he's one of the best walk-ons. Jaguar LaRoe is the other one. He transferred in from Texas A&M before last year, or 2 years ago now. Goodness, time is flying.
And
but yes.
Andrade was a 3-star quarterback himself.
Yeah, yes, and Andrade did have some FBS offers, I think, but those guys are both walk-ons. Bahamut wants to know the song played before the Buckeye Weekly podcast. Is it the Rolling Stones? No. Tony, who is it?
It is 1-800-BAND, and the song is Des Moines. You can find it on your Spotify or your iTunes. Somebody asked about Mayan Williams. He is on Team Brutus, and he should be playing today.
Jack wants to know what we're seeing or hearing about any secondary scheme changes. I don't know what you're going to see today, secondary scheme-wise, because they're so split up, and I think they're just going to kind of be playing some, pretty basic stuff. They're not going to want to put anything on film for anyone if they break out something completely new. The biggest thing I'm looking for the secondary this year is probably getting away from these 3 linebackers, the 3 traditional linebackers, and having that base probably feature that bullet where it's like Craig Young is, sort of half linebacker, half safety. He's they're functionally playing almost a base nickel. That was my guess.
Yeah, and then they have like a running down bullet in Craig Young and a passing down bullet in Ronnie Hickman.
Yeah.
Although today they're on opposite teams.
Yeah.
So who knows what we're going to see.
Gotten through all the Ohio State has this insane wide receiver room. Michigan can't even hold on to 1 4-star. Did Michigan have another transfer?
One of their signees didn't.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, Bahamut says we are plowing through these questions. Good job. Take a breath. Yes. Yeah, and we're probably going to be wrapping up pretty soon because I think the team's going to be coming up pretty soon. So I got to go start shooting pictures. And
We are in the stands where the fans are trying to sit as well.
yes, yeah, we're also in the way for people who are going to start coming in, and you can sort of see again, like you look like, yeah, there's some people, there's some people. They're just a few of the first people are just starting to come in. So we will be we're going to get out of here in just a minute because I think there's folks waiting to come sit where we're sitting because we were in the family section. So. Bahamut says, check out the Buckeye Scoop website. Great insider information. Yes, we have. The board should be hopping today. Our Ask the Insiders board should be a lot of fun conversation there. And Nevada Buck. A lot of the questions we've been answering here, the information is coming from Nevada Buck, and not necessarily always stuff we've seen. So if you are enjoying the answers to these questions, you might want to consider becoming a member of BuckeyeScoop.com. Corey Miller says 12 Eastern Time. Yes, 12 o'clock Eastern Time on the Big Ten Network, probably 12 to 2, give or take. All right, that's going to do it for us. We will be back after the game. We got to figure out when that's going to be. We may do it we'll either do it at 3:30 or so inside the stadium, or we'll wait till they kick us out about 4:30 and we'll shoot it outside the stadium. We may end up doing that. That way we won't have a real time crunch to get out of here. So, but check back. Best thing you can do right now, hit the subscribe button on the BuckeyeScoop.com, the YouTube.com/BuckeyeScoop. Hit that subscribe button, and then you get notified when we pop up after the game. That'll be that's your best way to know, so you don't miss the post game show. I'm looking forward to that. I think we're gonna have a lot. I mean, we're gonna know so much. I don't know how much we're gonna know, but we're gonna know a lot more then than we do now. So,
and it won't be as loud.
Yeah, I sure hope not. So, all right, thank you guys all for joining us. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the football game, and we will talk again.